Okay, I think start from now. So thank you everyone very much for joining. As you can see from the screen, my name is Graeme Smith. I'm the Customer Success Lead here at Intergral. So what that really means is that I'm here to make sure that customers know everything they need to about the products that we have, how to use certain features, and really make sure that you're getting the most out of your investment with us here at FusionReactor. So this webinar is actually the second in a series of webinars that I'm running at the moment. What I want to do, the plan for this series is to talk more about our product, get to know customers a lot more, make sure that we share a lot more information about the features that we have recently released, and that we're planning to release in the future. Now, this one today specifically is around the cloud-based UI and migrating from on-premise to the cloud. But what we're going to do in the future as well is run some webinars on some very specific features as well. But the last one that we did was really an introduction of what are the kind of hidden gems and what are the things we've released recently. This time around, what I want to do is talk about moving over to the cloud, because that's where a lot of development, a lot of the feature set now is. So before we start, what I'd like to do is actually run a quick poll, if I could. And just asking a couple of questions, and I'm specifically doing this before we get into the webinar itself, and that's really to ask about a couple of questions. Which features of the cloud are you most interested in? So if I could maybe ask you to look at the polls and answer these questions. I've put some points up there that are main features of the cloud, and then second to that as well, what I'd really like to understand is main concerns around moving to the cloud as well. What you think about it, and what I'm trying to do is get a sort of in the round understanding of what is important to you as our customers, but what concerns obviously do you share, what things can we work on, what more do you need to know about our product in order to be able to use it. So I can see we've got a few answers in there, so thank you very much indeed for that. And it's filling up, which is great. And I think we've still got a few people joining as well. So the poll is there. If I can ask you just to have a quick look at it and let me know your answers. While that's running, I'll leave it going just now. I'll just move over onto the agenda. So what I want to cover today is pretty simple, really just let you get this view of the cloud. So first of all, we're going to do a quick welcome into the cloud environment, the UI. If you are using the on-premise, you may not have seen the UI before, so I want to go through that. Secondly, data storage and the ability to go back in time. The tunnel that we've created that goes back to the on-premise environment. So why would I show that if we're talking about utilizing cloud and moving you to cloud? Why would we want to go back to the tunnel to on-premise? But I'll take you through that. We've got a lot of AI tooling and machine learning built into the cloud, and those themselves have some integrations included with them. I want to show how you can observe more than just CF and Java, and Lucy as well, actually, within FusionReactor Cloud. Then, how easy is it to migrate to cloud, and what are the subscriptions there? What's the costing around that? Because it's something that we've done a lot of work on, really made it pretty easy. So I want to make sure that everyone has the information on that. And then towards the end, we'll do some Q&A. When you first open up, you come in, you'll see a little overview of your environment. I've got 3 servers within this environment. We're running a kind of fictitious store, and I've specifically got a lot of errors in it, because obviously what we want to do is find and fix errors. This screen's really handy because it shows me any alerts that I may have created, any information that I want to know about. Are they firing or are they okay at the moment? So it lets me see that. And down here, it also lets me look at the agents that I've got in use. You'll notice anyone that has downloaded or used the agents recently, we've taken a bit of a jump with the numbering system. So the last version prior to this one was version 12.1.1. We just released version 2025. And the reason that we did that, the reason that we changed the numbering system was simply because, as I'm sure you're aware, Adobe have not long released CF 2025. So what we wanted to do was align with that. We had to release a new version to make sure that we covered the support for that version. So it just seemed a good time to change the numbering system. So what I've got here is what is the latest that's been released by us, my highest and my oldest. As you can see, all are running the latest version. Now, moving over to the cloud, it really is the sort of natural evolution from on-premise. The cloud has been designed for a modern development environment and for modern operations teams. So, for example, complex distributed systems, team members who maybe don't work together closely, maybe remote workers, but have specific ownership of certain parts of an environment. And what you can do with the cloud is you can really get access to all those different areas, see how they work together, and also collaborate within the tool as well. You get a lot deeper insights into your system performance, especially around the AI tooling that I'll come to. And with that, you can reduce the mean time to resolution by speeding up your error investigations, looking into possible inefficiencies, and also understanding system crashes. Finally, just as another point, you can control access a lot easier in the cloud, unlike the on-premise. The on-premise, it's essentially one password and you can log in via the panel that we have. With the cloud, each team member has their own account and also has certain controls on their accounts. We've got different levels of access that can be done. We're actually just about to launch a multi-factor authentication also. So again, it becomes a very, very secure environment. And finally, the migration piece is very, very simple, but I'll come to that towards the end. So I talked about going back in time. So what I'll do here is just go into my servers. You'll see I've got 3 servers in this environment. I have grouped storefronts 1 and 2, and I've left the third one ungrouped. So I've got these logical groupings in place. What I'll do is I'll look at storefront 1. And the first thing I'll do here is look at web requests. So those of you familiar with the on-prem, you would know that you've got down the left, you've got the menu where you can select everything. With cloud, just remember that that's across the top and you've got all the same functions that you would have. So here, for example, this is showing me the history of everything that's running at this moment in time through my environment. Now it's live because the clock is orange, so it shows me I'm in live mode. I could click to pause that at any time and it will just make a static view of what has just run within the system. Now that's true with activity, so what's live, error history, snapshots, longest, slowest transactions, etc. All of those options. If I go to saved in cloud, what I'm now got the ability to do is look back at data that I've stored. So one of the key differences with the cloud is that we store 13 months of metrics and 30 days of both log and trace data. So it means that I'm not relying on FusionReactor. I don't have to get into FusionReactor immediately. If there's an issue, obviously, yes, you want to go in and fix it, but things can happen overnight, at weekends, while you're dealing with other things, and you would like to go back and say, well, actually, what took place at that time? So you'll see now the clock, I don't have the ability to use the clock. What I can do is look back through time as I want. So I've got a few standard options here, or you can actually select a custom time frame right down to the second. So for example, I've chosen a date from it was 10 days ago, sorry, about a week ago, and you can see the time that I've put in. And it's now showing me the web request that took place at that time. Similarly, I can look at transactions or JDBC. It will all show me back at that time. I can then click in to look at that transaction and then start to understand what was the issues that I had with it. So I've got all the information you would get as standard from the on-premise view. Similarly, I can look at the tracing. I can see the sub-transactions that took place, any error output, etc. So I've got the ability to go back and understand what happened there. What's really clever as well is now that I've got this time frame selected, if I go to another server, it will keep that there for me. So I've got the same application running across 2 servers. I want to be able to look at them both and compare what happened. Was there a problem with the load balancer or whatever? So I can look across and see between these 2. Also, I've got the application screen here. And what this will do is allow me to select an application to look at. And again, I'm keeping this time frame static. So again, I can conduct my investigation looking at that specific time frame while being able to go through certain things that I want to get out and understand what happened at that specific time frame. So that's a very, very popular part of the cloud. It's something that people really give us a lot of good feedback on, to say that is something that's very useful to us, being able to have that ability to look back. We also, as I say, have built a tunnel. So if I go back in, let's say to the storefront here, you'll see this will come up straight away, the on-prem UI. So what I'm doing here, this is not data sent to the cloud. This is me actually looking at the data that is on my system, because I'm running through a tunnel directly to the agent on the system. There's a couple of good reasons for that. The first one is something that I always like to point out straight away is if I look at my JDBC, you'll see here that I can see all the requests that have been sent. And with that, that actually includes data, that personal identifiable information data, because that's local to the environment. One of the main issues that we do here about cloud is around security, and we can talk about that. But when I look at data from my JDBC calls, that is on the local environment. If I show you the JDBC directly on that storefront within the cloud, you'll see that that data has now been obfuscated. So that doesn't get sent or saved to the cloud. It's a very, very important point to make. If you want to look at JDBC calls in the round and understand how they're running and maybe troubleshoot them without that data, you have that ability within the cloud. And again, of course, as I say, you can go back in time. But if I want to then look at what's actually happening now, on premise, I can still do that and I've got access to the full view. Also, having the on-premise UI here, it really allows for people to get to know the cloud as you use it. So I've got, as I say, all the options down the left-hand side. These simply have gone across the top within cloud, but we understand that when things are busy, when there can be pressures, when there can be issues happening, it's a case of I'd like to use the way I used to use it and get the information that I need. So you've still got access to that here. And then finally as well, there's one feature that we did not bring from on-premise into cloud. It may be something that we do in the future, and that is the debugger. I've had a lot of positive feedback over the years around the debugging tool, being able to actually be in production live and debug requests as they're happening. You still have the ability to do that with the cloud. I can then go through the tunnel and get access to the debugger from there. Now, I talked about the AI tooling that we have. So if I go back to, let's say, the web requests, and here I'm still in my history from, oh no, sorry, I'm in live mode here. If I go into slow transactions, for example, what I can do is pick on any of these transactions, and I'm going to look at the tracing of it. And I can see this one request here is taking a long, long time. What you see is that I've actually put a sleep timer in there. So it's just one of these things that I'm trying to force that request to error or be very inefficient. But you'll see that what's happened is the cloud has actually identified that sub-transaction as being the slowest path. So if I'm looking for inefficiencies, the first thing that I want to do is say, well, why? What happened there? And I can do that by utilizing the OpsPilot AI. So what the OpsPilot AI is, it lets you analyze, troubleshoot issues, as I say, with this example, optimize your application performance through an intelligent AI-driven interface. It is fully context aware of your environment, and it can really help with different requests, questions you want to ask it, or understand things that have been happening. It could be that it's code that you're looking at that you specifically didn't write or you weren't involved in, but again, you need to help with the debugging process. So if I press the button there, what you'll see is that I've not had to create a prompt to ask about that. AI is very specific around prompting and asking it certain questions. What I've done is I've been able to send that part of that transaction at that time with those scope variables directly into the AI. And the first thing that the AI will do is give me an explanation of what that request is actually doing at that given time. So here's an explanation of what it does, an analysis of how it performs, and then start to give me solutions on it as well. So straight away, I've got a much, much deeper understanding of how that transaction ran, what the problems were with it, and things that I could do about it. But the OpsPilot is a lot more than that. It has the ability for me to ask it any questions that I may want. It is an AI that learns, and we have trained it on a lot of our things. So, for example, if I ask it, who owns the store service? This is something that it probably wouldn't know because this is part of my environment, not something that an LLM can be trained on. But you'll see that it's going through its process there, and it's hit a point there where it says it's acquiring additional knowledge. And that doesn't mean that it's trying to find out this information that it doesn't know. It's trying to go away and learn for itself. What it means is that I've actually given it some extra knowledge. So you'll see there, I'm the owner of that service. You've got my mobile phone number and you've got my email address. So how have we been able to do that? That's something that's done via what we call the OpsPilot Hub. The OpsPilot Hub is our way of adding or augmenting the AI, the LLM, with information specific to your environment. So what I've done is I've scanned the services that are within my system, and there's certain ones that I want to put information in, and it's more for the purposes of demonstration. So you'll see here I've got a MySQL database. I'm the owner, and a little explanation of what it is. And I've got this metadata that I'm tagged in as well to give me information. I could add anything I want as part of that data. Similarly, I've got the storefront, and again, it's got my name and number. And you see I've got these tags there just to let me know where I want to tag the knowledge. You see that I can update, so I could add my email address and just type it in there, and that will update that data for me. But once I've done that and I've got the services that are in use, I can then add knowledge. So if I show you what I've done here, I've got the services that I've used, the tags that I've set up, and then I've put little bits of information in. So the Docker Compose file that I use, for example, it lists all the ports that I'm using. There's the store service owner. That was a little bit of knowledge that I added instead of using the metadata. I added a file, so I created a file with information around emergency contacts, with as much information as I want around what to do in certain scenarios. So you're limited very much by your imagination with the hub. What do you want the knowledge to be, and how you then provide that to the AI? It will then, when you ask it a question, go through its learning and then look at its additional knowledge and be able to answer you and surface the right information. So an example there, I've put in if there's a power outage, what contract number do we have, where are the servers located, all the information that you might need. Instead of it being buried in a knowledge base somewhere that you have to go and search, I can simply ask the question from in here. And part of that as well, we have some integrations. Now, these are the standard integrations that we use within FusionReactor to get logs, metrics, and traces. But what we also have available are some additional integrations. So Teams and Slack, really, really powerful collaboration tools that many, many of you will use. What you're able to do there is actually add OpsPilot to your collaboration tools. So instead of coming into FusionReactor, I can ask it a question through Teams or Slack, or collaborate with my colleagues. I'm in a chat with multiple people. You can add OpsPilot and ask it questions. You'll get that information back as if you were on the tool itself. We also have Jira there as well. So for ticketing, if you don't want to have to recreate instances after they happen, you can ask OpsPilot to create a ticket in Jira specific to an issue that you're looking at, or ask it for an update on a ticket, or ask it to close a ticket, whatever it is that you would maybe want to use Jira for. Part of the AI that we have as well, or sorry, I should say machine learning really, is the alerting piece. Alerting is very, very powerful because it lets you know what you want to know about your environment. Here I've set up a couple of alerts, and it will tell me if the CPU is higher than 80% for a minute, or it will tell me if my error count's exceeded a certain threshold that I've done. But I've had to create those, I've had to add those, tell it, I want you to email me, or get me through Slack. So you can see here, I'll get emails at the weekend, Slack alerts Monday, Tuesday, through to the end of the week. More powerful than that is anomaly detection. So what anomaly detection will do is actually tell me itself if it starts to see any what you would term an anomaly within the system. And that works across the red metrics. So that's the rate of requests, the rate of errors, and the duration of your requests. So if it starts to see any of these items change over its learned period, it will alert me. Now I've set up the learned period to be the last week. Again, you can go back a bit further than that. You can have it look as far back as you want. And essentially what it will do, the machine learning will look at the trends in your environment. Where do you see spikes or drops? When is it busy? When is it not? What is the standard kind of error rate? And the rate, the duration of requests, how long do they typically take? And if it sees a spike going up or down, or a peak or a trough going up or down from the standard deviation, it will tell you that. So therefore, you're not having to set up individual alerts for specific things. What you're able to do is get a more structured overview of the full environment. So if I just open it up and let you see the dashboarding on it, you'll see here, here's the request rate that I have. Suddenly it dropped. So what it was able to then do is say, I think there's a problem here, and I will give you that information. I'll alert you to that information. Just the same here, it actually spiked up and then suddenly it dropped again. That's the rate of request. So I really want to know, is there a bot attacking my system, for example? With errors, it didn't really actually hit an anomaly. It didn't think there was going to be a problem because maybe it's learned that that is actually quite a standard frequency for that. And finally, the durations, where they've spiked up, it says, there is a problem here. So if I just show you, for example, if I click on where I've got an anomaly, I could say, well, show me the traces for that time frame. So I'm able to go in and look specifically at the traces that took place, look at these longer requests and investigate where those problems came from. Similarly, I can look at error traces only, and was there more errors at that time? So the anomaly detection is very, very powerful. It lets you not have to worry about setting up alerts, but know that you're looking at the environment constantly and will be alerted as and when you need. There is the possibility of kind of alert fatigue if you set up too many things. With this, you know that you're going to get a lot of specific information only when it thinks there's going to be an issue. Sorry, there was one other thing I was going to mention about the anomaly detection feature, and I can't remember what it was. The next thing I want to move on to is being able to look or observe beyond just CF, Java, and Lucy. So the way that I can do that is by coming into my dashboard, and we've got a lot of very powerful dashboarding within the cloud with FusionReactor because there is a lot of data there. So you can see just from a glance, there's a lot of powerful information that you can look at, dashboards, look at trends over time. But one of the things I want to call out here are the integrations. So our agent that runs on your system, our proprietary agent, is the one that obviously we sell and we charge for. There is an open telemetry agent that you can use as well. It's not something that we charge for. It's not ours. It's completely free. And what you can do is actually instrument any other integrations that you have to send telemetry data, which we can then receive and show you within FusionReactor Cloud. So for example, you saw that I had a MySQL database with my, when I was showing you the setup that I've got, the services. So from here, not only am I looking at, or we've been looking at my requests, my JDBC calls and what have you, but I'm now actually able to look at the database that all those requests are going to. There's a lot of important information there about how my database is performing. I can get that deeper understanding of it. You can see we've got a really good list here of integrations that we have so far. We're always adding to this. We're always creating more. And again, would like to hear more from customers about what would help them by getting more information into FusionReactor. One of the ones I think is really cool is being able to actually look at the physical health of my Windows server. Now this is my laptop that I'm running on, so the memory is very high. But to be able to get that power, that level of insight into my hardware and the other integrations from what is a ColdFusion, a Java interface, a Java monitor is very, very powerful. So the last thing I want to do is show you about the migration piece. You can see there's a lot within the cloud. I'm really sort of touching the main points, how you can really help understand your system a lot more. There is a lot more within cloud that we can go through, but these are the main points I really want to hit, and these are the ones that I showed within the poll earlier on. If I come into on-premise, which I'm sure many of you will recognize, you see I've got all my options down the left-hand side. To migrate to cloud is very, very simple. You'll see my license key here begins with the word cloud. That simply means it's a cloud license. So the license you would have for on-premise wouldn't have that there. All you need to do is make sure that you have a cloud license in place, and the agent versions, you should be on version 10 or above. I would suggest using version 12 or above, so version 2025 that we just released. The reason for that is some of the newer features that we've added into the cloud, they will only be picked up by version 12 or above. It's as simple as that. Make sure you've got the latest version of the agent or a later version of the agent and a cloud key. Now, obviously, we can provide the cloud keys, or if you buy a cloud plan, that is what you would get. When I'm in here, I can show that it's green cloud. That tells me that my data is being sent to the cloud. And if I look at the status, it will show you we do have some customers that maybe have very strict networking, and this gives you all the information of ports that you may need to open up, etc. But you can see here it's telling me my connection is healthy, so that's really good. Also in here, just to let you know, the configure cloud, this is where you can switch on the data obfuscation. So it is enabled by default. That's the part I showed you with the JDBC calls. Now, logging is a slightly different thing. We would need to work with you on the logs if you wanted to make sure there was no PII data within the logs. But with the JDBC, as long as this is enabled, it will obfuscate that data. Now, I'll just go back over to my slides because I want to talk quickly about the cloud subscriptions. Now, I have done this with the dollar pricing. Obviously, that we do have fixed pricing for other currencies as well, but it was just the easiest one to show within dollars. So there's 3 different subscriptions that you can have. The most popular one is the Pro AI plan. And what these allow for is the amount of data that you send to us, plus the amount of OpsPilot tokens that you get each month. Now, to give you an example with the Pro plan, what this means is we can ingest 100 gigabytes of logs and 100 gigabytes of traces in any one billing month. You also will take 20,000 metrics within that time. Now, if you go above that level, we don't cut you off. We don't stop taking that data. There is a slight charge for any overage that there is. It's based on thousands of metrics, gigabytes of logs or traces. It's not a high cost, but one of the really clever things about the cloud as well is that we can instrument the agent to change sampling rates, for example. So we sample the traces at 5%. So that means that we take 5% of all the good transactions along with what we call the interesting transactions, the one that last longer, the ones that error. We can work with you on that to make sure that we're on the right level. Typically, if people take a trial, it's a good period to take a trial for a month, understand what is the usage that we have, therefore what subscription should we have, or do we need to temper the way that we sample. Also, you've got your OpsPilot tokens as well. They increase as you go up. One important thing, and this is really key for cost, it doesn't matter how many agents you have, if you've got 1 agent or 1,000 agents. So what you would term as your installs, your instances at the moment. You only pay the cloud plan once. So you pay for the agents that you want to use. That's exactly as it would be today. And it's simply an addition of the cloud plan on top of that. It's not per license that you currently have. You pay this. It's only once that you actually pay that. And that's everything I wanted to cover. Just sort of to let you see, how does the cloud work? What are the main features that are in there? And how can you use it? How simple is it to use? By being on this and listening to me, and thank you very much, I really do appreciate it. I will set up a 1-month trial for anyone who's attended here today and wants to go through it. We'll also do a follow-up one-to-one session with myself. We can do that to get you onboarded. We can make sure that you've got everything installed as it needs to be, the data is flowing. Plus, we can actually do a call one-to-one where we actually go through your screen and I'll take you through all the features and how to access the different areas and really get you testing it out as you would want to. So with that, what I'd like to do is run a second poll. Now that we've actually finished going through everything, you'll see the options are very, very similar. But now that we've had this conversation or gone through these features, if I could ask, what you've seen today, what is it that stands out? What do you think would have the greatest impact in performance for yourselves? And that's really key for us to understand, because I want to make sure that as we develop the tool and as we develop further, that we really hit the sweet spots of what's important to you as our customer base. You know, what is it that would really help you moving over to cloud? While that's filling up, I can see, I think we've got one question. Oh, no, I've got, oh, thank you very much. Somebody's told me it's a nice presentation so far, so I really appreciate that. Thank you very much indeed. Just with that, if you do have any questions at the moment, please do feel free to ask them. We're literally just coming up to time, but I'm really, you know, I like to make sure to take some Q&A. That's my email address that's there as well. If you want to drop me a line, certainly you can do that. We can follow up. There will be an email that comes out tomorrow with a link to the recording here. Again, feel free to